Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ganesh Kole sir. Today we are going to deliver 60 lecture series by Academy of Rog Nidan, coordinated by Rog Nidan Department, APM Ayurved College, Science, Mumbai. Today's resource person, Dr. Pallavi U. Chogule, madam. She is Associate Professor, Department of Rog Nidan and Vikrut Ityas, Manjushri Research Institute of Ayurvedic Science, Gandhinagar. Today's topic is role of biomarkers in clinical practice and research. I welcome Dr. Pallavi Chogule, madam. In his brief bio, she having experience hospital work as a 13 years and teaching experience as a 7 years 7 months. She published various research articles in international and national journals. She has had presented various research papers in conferences. She is an active member in Rog Nidan and Vikrut Vigyan Association and Academy of Rog Nidan. She was ranked and best student of the college. She received a Jivak Award from Himalaya Drugs Company. We have good opportunity to listen, ma'am, regarding the biomarkers and. Hello, Nami. Hello.
Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
One message is that.
Hello.
I requested ma'am, please deliver her lecture on biomarkers and its importance in research.
Yes.
Over to ma'am.
Thank you. A very warm good afternoon to everyone. To begin with, I would like to express my gratitude towards the Academy of Rog Nidan, towards Dr. Respected Pawan Kumar Godatwar sir, who is the president of this Academy of Rog Nidan, Dr. Arun Tudmal sir, vice president of the Academy of Rog Nidan, then Dr. Ganesh Kole sir, who is the convener of this association, and Dr. Atul Varshne sir, who is the secretary of Academy of Rog Nidan, for giving me this opportunity to present my views in front of such a huge audience. So I will, sir, should I share the screen? I will just share the screen.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, is my screen visible, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Visible.
Okay.
Yes.
So the topic I have selected today for my lecture is role of biomarkers in clinical practice and research. The reason, so before we start with this, just we will start with remembering our Lord Dhanvantari, Om Dhanvantare Namaha. And it's aptly said in Sushrut Samhita that Ek Shastram Adhiyano na Vidyat Shastra Nishchayam Tasmat Bahushrutah Shastram Vijaniyat Chikitsakah. So to become a good physician, we must also have a proper knowledge of all the allied sciences. So I have selected this topic today, that is role of biomarkers. What we are going to see today will be the introduction of biomarkers, history, definition, ideal biomarkers, types of biomarkers, its applications, limitations of biomarkers, Ayurveda and biomarkers, and finally we will reach to a conclusion. Now the question arises, why and what are these biomarkers and why have I selected this biomarkers topic? To begin with, as we all know that Ayurveda is now moving towards a global platform. So constantly it is being scrutinized, asked for validations, and to make this Ayurveda as evidence-based, it needs very strong support. Also to stay updated with the counterparts like modern medicine, we need to explain them, or we need to understand and learn the universal biomedical language. And me being from Rog Nidan department as a Nidanian, I think it is not only my duty, but my responsibility also to propagate the concepts that will help people in understanding the disease or the different factors that are related in the disease, its diagnosis, which will help for better treatment and thus help in the better implementation of treatment and help the society. So this basically begins all when a person is enters into a post graduation, or when he takes a particular topic or selects a topic for research. So it writes from the designing the research methodology, inclusive or exclusive criteria, whenever we are going to decide, or even in clinical practice, if we see, then these biomarkers, they are everywhere. Like in clinical practice, for example, if we take right from the time the patient enters our clinic, we start measuring the patient's weight, height. Then in the OPD, we start checking his BP, pulse rate. So these all are the examples of biomarkers. In basic research and clinical research, like we try to find out new diseases or the pathogenesis of new unknown diseases, or we try to search in the new facets of already known diseases. So everywhere now these biomarkers are coming into use, and they are so extensively used that they are used as primary endpoints in clinical trials. Now, let me clear here one thing is that biomarkers is an extensively vast topic which cannot be covered only in one webinar. So today we are just going to have an outlook about the introduction of biomarkers, and just we will have a brief idea about how these biomarkers can be applied into our clinical practice and what role they have in research, both fundamental research and drug development, everything, but everything will be in very outlined manner because it's a very vast topic. So now we have come to know why we have selected this topics or why we need to study this biomarkers. We will see now what biomarkers actually are. Now, clinical science are as old as the clinical practice itself, but this term biomarker is recently being used more commonly, more oftenly. So what actually it means is, this biomarker means a biological marker which refers to a broad subcategory of medical science. So when we say science, it is something that a person or a physician perceives. So it is basically an objective indications of medical state observed from outside the patient. Now these biomarkers can be measured accurately using various tools, and they can be measured reproducibly. Means if on one day I'm examining a certain BP, so again I have the measurements or the tools through which I can measure this BP again and again. So it is a reproducible. So in broad terms, this is what biomarkers are, but we can pinpoint it if we want to study. We can even study it in a means of a biological molecule, a molecule that can be found in blood, other body fluids or tissues, which is a sign of a normal or abnormal process. Like if there is HB, so HB can be in normal also, or if we are going to see a shape of sickle cell anemia, then the RBC will be sickle shaped, which is a biomarker for an abnormal process. Or similarly, any blood molecule that is found in blood or body fluids or tissues in a condition or a disease. So this also this also makes this molecule called as a molecular marker or signature marker. Then a biomarker may be used to see how well the body responds to a treatment for a disease or condition, to describe risk, exposures, treatment effects. So again, we are going to see this in detail in applications. So they are also essential for research, clinical monitoring, and regulatory applications. Then a biomarker, now what we need to remember here is that this biomarker is not an assessment of how an individual feels, functions, or survives. So basically biomarker is an objective parameter which can be measured over again and again, and it is objective in nature. This we have to remember. Now if we just see history in the short, the term biomarker has been used since 1950s, but it came widely used in 1980s. But it took again another 2 decades to properly have a definition of these biomarkers. That is, in 1998, the National Institute of Health's Biomarker Definition Working Group officially recognized the term. Since then, many definitions have been designed and they are continuously being updated. So if we see into the definition, a biomarker is a defined characteristic that is measured. Now, this is what is mentioned in the 1998 definition, and this is the most widely used definition. In 2016 also, US government, that is US FDA, has brought a glossary to define this biomarker, which can be used as a global definition. So this definition is taken from that source. Measured as an indicator of normal biological process. So biomarker is a defined characteristic which is an indicator of a normal biological process, pathogenic process, or pharmacological responses to an exposure or intervention, including therapeutic interventions. So anything, any quantifiable entity in the body can be worked as a biomarker. So in 2016, again, Fitzgerald had also mentioned it as a functional variant and quantitative index, but this definition was very restrictive. So again, the WHO, in coordination with United Nations and International Labour Organization, redefined it or updated it into any substance, structure, or process that can be measured in the body or its products. So body products, like it can be simple, you can have a saliva or a strand of hair, which can be used to measure this. And this substance, structure, or process should be influenced or should predict the incidence of outcome, that is, if any drug is given or if any therapy is given, or the disease itself. If the pathogenesis of disease is going on, whatever mechanism is happening in the body, it should be reflected in this biomarker. Now, this measured response may be a functional and physiological, biochemical at the cellular level, or a molecular interaction. So it is basically, it has a very, very wide range. It will depend on what study we are doing or what our intent is. So accordingly, we will have to specify the biomarker. Now, if we see what are the qualities of a biomarker, ideal biomarker, then it has to be specific. Now, specific in the sense that if we are, for example, doing a research on a particular maybe osteoarthritis, if we consider, then the bone mineral density is specific for the osteoarthritis. So it has to be a particular for a disease, and it should be able to differentiate between two physiological states. So it should possess specificity and it should possess sensitivity. Now, specificity is, if we are going to test, for example, HLA-B27 is the most common factor what we examine for the persons in ankylosing spondylitis. So specificity means if a person is not suffering from ankylosing spondylitis, then it should be negative, 100% negative. That is the specificity. And sensitivity is positive, that is HLA-B27 should be positive in 100% of the patients. So this would be an ideal biomarker, but in practice, there is no biomarker that can be 100% ideal. So maximum we have seen, that is the predictive value, we will be saying that maximum it should have positive predictive value. So as close as 100 if it is, the more better the biomarker is. Second quality that a biomarker should have is it should be safe to collect and easy to process. If, like example, most of the what we biomolecules what we check or parameters what we check, they can be simply done by getting blood. So even a drop of blood is very easy to get as a sample, or urine is very easy to get. Of course, there are certain conditions, like if we are going to go for biopsy, it is a bit difficult to every time get a biopsy tissue for biopsy or FNAC. but still an ideal biomarker would be having the property of safe to collect and easy to collect. Then it should be rapid in the sense that it should be easily recognizable and easily diagnosable using the various tools, so as to enable faster diagnosis, so that the person may, or the patient may be given treatment immediately. Then next is it should be cheap to assess or cheap to examine and cost efficient, so that a proper follow-up can be done over the course of research or course of the treatment. Then the next quality it should possess is it should be modifiable. Now modifiable means if there is any change in the patient's condition, it should be reflected in the biomarker we are using. For example, we all know that CRP is taken as an biomarker or is taken as an measure of inflammation. So if the inflammation is increasing in the body, the levels of CRP will increase. If you are doing any intervention or the cause for the inflammation is separated, or if any treatment is given, any anti-inflammatories are given, then as the inflammation reduces in the body, the CRP level will also reduce. So that means it is modifiable with the condition. Then it should be accurate in terms of it should exactly reflect the what exactly the condition is in the person, and it should, if you are going to test it in across various machines or in different scenarios, the same result should be yielded. the सबका रिजल्ट सेम होना चाहिए, मतलब एक लैब में किया तब भी वो पॉजिटिव आया और दूसरे लैब में करने पे नेगेटिव आया, तो इट कैन नॉट बी कॉल्ड एज एक्यूरेट बायोमार्कर. सो एक्यूरेट बायोमार्कर इज दैट इफ यू आर गोइंग टू टेस्ट इट अक्रॉस डिफरेंट लैब्स और डिफरेंट setups, it should still come positive or negative, whichever the case may be, and it should directly correlate with the patient's condition. And the last quality that an ideal biomarker should have is consistent. Now consistent means whatever biomarker we are going to select, it should be such that you will get the same biomarker irrespective of the gender. मतलब males में भी वही है, females में भी वही है. If you are going to check that in the people in India, it would be same. You will get the same biomarker in people in America. So across the all ethnic groups and genders, that biomarker should be found. So it has to be consistent. Now example is, for example, like RA factor we see in rheumatoid arthritis. So wherever we go, it will be commonly found RA factor. It is not that in females it is there or in males it is not there. So it is basically present with everyone. So it is basically consistent in all the ethnic groups and across all the conditions. So moving to the next, okay, types of biomarkers. Okay, now basically biomarkers are classified on various parameters. So the first parameter what I have selected here is based on the genetic and molecular biology method. Next is they can be classified based on the characteristics they possess. Then they can be classified based on the applications or the role that they play in disease or disease, having knowledge about disease. And lastly is based on the biomolecule. Now basically this base classification of biomolecule can be considered as a further classification of this molecular biomarkers. Okay, so based on what a person is going, what his intention is, whether it is a clinical practice oriented, or the person is going for drug development, or whether the person is going for fundamental research to search for any new steps in the pathogenesis of a disease, what type of classification he will use, it will vary. But the most commonly used classification is the classification based on the application. So based on the genetic and molecular biology method, the biomarkers are classified as type 0, type 1 and type 2. Now type 0 are the biomarkers which will tell about the natural history of the disease. So a marker of natural history of disease, and it is directly proportional or it will directly tell you about the known clinical indices. So basically it is going to be directly proportional to the symptoms. For example, if we see the swan neck deformity or Bountner's deformity in rheumatoid arthritis, they can be considered as the natural history markers. Or bamboo spine in X-rays, it can be considered as a natural history marker. Then moving on to the next type, that is type 1, that is drug activity markers. Now, as the name suggests, this marker is capable of capturing, or this will tell you about the effect a therapeutic intervention or a drug has, and that is according to the mechanism of action of the drug used. For example, if we are going to use an ACE inhibitor in a person, then the conversion of angiotensin 1 into angiotensin 2 is stopped. So there will be a marked reduction in angiotensin 2. So here angiotensin 2 will be called as a type 1 biomarker, because it is going to tell you whether the drug that you are giving, that is ACE inhibitors, whether it is working properly or not. Then the next is type 2 biomarker, which is called as the surrogate markers. This type of marker is intended to substitute for a clinical endpoint. Now, clinical endpoint are basically a subjective criteria or what the patient feels. So, a thing which we are going to use instead of a subjective parameter, because we are talking about biomarkers, which is an objective parameter. This objective parameter which you are using as a substitute, या किसी भी subjective parameter के लिए जो हम objective parameter use करते हैं, they are called as the surrogate markers. Now, a surrogate endpoint is expected to predict clinical benefit or lack of benefit on the basis of either epidemiology, therapeutic, pathophysiology, or other scientific evidence. Now, the best example would be, जैसे कि we all know that if there is increased cholesterol in the body, there are more chances of getting a heart attack. So if we are giving medicines to reduce the LDL level, then the decreased LDL cholesterol levels can act as a surrogate marker for reduced risk of heart attack. So here it is, we are using the LDL cholesterol levels as a marker to predict the risk of cardiac CVA, that is cardiovascular accident. Then the next, based on the characteristics, it can be classified as molecular, histologic or cytologic, radiographic or physiologic characteristics. Again, in molecular, it is having biophysical properties. Now, biophysical properties mean it includes all the parameters which we can test in lab using ELISA method or different omics. Now, omics approach, we will see shortly what it is. बट लैब में हम जितने भी कर सकते हैं, मतलब ब्लड के टेस्ट, यूरिन के टेस्ट, सैंपल, स्टूल के सैंपल्स, सेरेब्रोस्पाइनल फ्लूइड, ये जितने भी हम लैब में कर सकते हैं, जो हम एनालाइज कर सकते हैं, दिस विल ऑल कम अंडर द मॉलिक्यूलर टाइप ऑफ बायोमॉलिक्यूलर्स. सिमिलरली न्यूक्लिक एसिड बेस्ड बायोमार्कर्स भी होते हैं. नाउ दीज आर बेसिकली द डीएनए एंड आरएनए और प्रोटीन्स, मेनली द डीएनए एंड आरएनए, और इनको हम यूजुअली चेक करते हैं बाय रियल टाइम पीसीआर या रिवर्स ट्रांसक्रिप्टेज पॉलीमरेज चेन रिएक्शन. तो आरटी-पीसीआर इज द मेथड यूज्ड फॉर examining these biomarkers. Then next is the histologic or cytologic biomarkers. So basically these are the biochemical or molecular alterations that we can see in cells, tissue or fluids. The example is pap smear, and basically these are used for grading and staging of the cancer. Now इसके पहले का जो हमने classification देखा था, type 0, type 1, type 2, these are mainly used for research purpose when we are going to design a research model. इसमें ये type का classification ज़्यादा use किया जाता है. But if we see this classification, This is used equally in clinical practice as well as research purpose. देन रेडियोग्राफिक में बायोमार्कर्स में सारी इमेजिंग स्टडीज आ जाते हैं, जो भी फाइंडिंग्स हमें एक्सरे में या सीटी स्कैन में दिखता है, जैसे कि एक्सरे में रेड्यूस्ड जॉइंट स्पेस इन केस ऑफ ऑस्टियोआर्थराइटिस, या बैम्बू स्पाइन जैसे मैंने बताया एंकिलोजिंग स्पॉन्डिलाइटिस में, या एमआरआई में जब हम स्पाइनल स्टेनोसिस देखते हैं, या इन केस ऑफ ट्यूमर साइज इन सीटी वगैरह देखते हैं. तो दीज आर ऑल एग्जांपल्स ऑफ द रेडियोग्राफिक बायोमार्कर्स. नाउ फिजियोलॉजिक कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स में नॉर्मल बॉडी प्रोसेस के इंडिकेटर्स जो होते हैं वो आ जाते हैं, जैसे कि बीपी हो गया, एचआर हो गया, दैट इज हार्ट रेट हो गया. देन इन फिजियोलॉजिकल कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स में वी कैन इवन कंसीडर जो हम रूटीनली क्लिनिकल एग्जामिनेशन करते हैं, स्ट्रेट लेग रेज टेस्ट, लैसिक्स टेस्ट, ये सारे जो मैन्यूवर्स वगैरह करते हैं, दिस कैन बी ऑल कंसिडर्ड अंडर द फिजियोलॉजिकल कैरेक्टरिस्टिक टाइप ऑफ बायोमार्कर्स. नाउ दिस इज द मल्टीओमिक्स अप्रोच. नाउ मल्टीओमिक्स अप्रोच मतलब ये होता है कि इफ किसी भी चीज को हमें बायोमार्कर करके अगर टैग लगाना है तो इट हैज टू गो थ्रू अ सीरीज ऑफ सीक्वेंस. तो इसमें इट हैज टू गो थ्रू जेनोमिक्स, दैट इज द स्टडी ऑफ जीन्स, हाउ द जीन्स आर गोइंग टू फंक्शन एंड एक्चुअल स्टडी ऑफ द जीन्स. देन उसमें ट्रांसक्रिप्टोमिक्स आता है, द स्टडी ऑफ हाउ दिस जीन्स आर गोइंग टू get transcripted into RNA. इसमें जो भी changes होते हैं ये ट्रांसक्रिप्टोमिक्स में पढ़े जाते हैं. Then from transcriptomics ये जो भी RNA होता है, this will synthesize the proteins which are studied. So these are by means of HPLC, gel based mass spectrophotometry. Then ये जो भी proteins बन रहे हैं, they are further going to affect the metabolism, and they are going to maybe exchange, they act as a catalyst, reduce some of the biochemical processes or maybe increase some biochemical processes. So इनका जो study होता है तो it is through the metabolics. So अगर हम chart देखें तो उसका जो पैटर्न होता है, तो पैटर्न में पहले सबसे पहले जेनोमिक्स में जीन एक्सप्रेशन फाइंड आउट किया जाता है बाय माइक्रो अरे और RT-PCR. Then depending on that a different protein expression are seen. Is now here genomics में ही transcriptomics भी इन्होंने include कर लिया है. Then depending on the protein there will be differences in metabolism which we are going to study by means of NMR spectroscopy. Based on this, then the new metabolite which has been formed, it is going to alter the cell structure and or function, which can be seen through microscopy and imaging or flow cytometry. And basically this is going to produce differences in protein localization, which can be studied by digital pathology or immunohistochemistry. So coming to the next group of classification, that is the classification based on the type of biomolecules. तो इसमें DNA based biomolecule होते हैं, protein based biomarker होते हैं, lipid based biomarker होते हैं. Lipid based के लिए अगर हम देखें तो इसमें जो example है lipopolysaccharide है, for example, which is used as an indicator of infection, urinary tract infection है. Yeah, if we see the cardiolipin, presence of cardiolipin is seen for cardiac diseases and cancer के लिए risk factor में देखा जाता है. Then sugar based biomarker में example are the urine में जो fructose and sucrose होता है वो examine किया जाता है for different cancers like colon cancer या ब्रेस्ट कैंसर या पैंक्रियाटिक कैंसर, इनका रिस्क सर्च करने के लिए यूज किए जाते हैं. तो these are the different type of biomarkers based on their molecular structure. So now coming to the applications of biomarkers, which is the main topic of our discussion today. So here ये जो भी है, this is just a outline as I have told earlier. तो clinical practice में अगर हम देखें तो we used the biomarkers for disease prevention, disease detection, early diagnosis, disease monitoring, predict treatment response. Okay, और biomedical research में अगर हम देखें तो इसका यूज होता है in drug development, understanding the disease process for developing safer and targeted therapies, early ADR, that is adverse drug reaction detection, and patient stratification. Now we are going to see each of these individually in the coming slides. नाउ व्हाट वी नीड टू रिमेम्बर इज, यहाँ पे जितनी भी हमने एप्लीकेशन क्लिनिकल प्रैक्टिस में हम देख रहे हैं, दिस कैन ऑल्सो कम अंडर द बायोमेडिकल रिसर्च। तो ये कोई हार्ड एंड फास्ट ऐसे क्लासिफिकेशन या ऐसे कुछ नहीं है, ये जो भी यहाँ पे एप्लीकेशन है दे आर इंटरचेंजेबल। तो डिपेंडिंग ऑन द एप्लीकेशन इन द डिजीजेस, these biomarkers are classified as susceptibility या रिस्क बायोमार्कर। नाउ इनका फंक्शन क्या होता है, तो ये जो भी बायोमार्कर्स है, these are associated with increased likelihood of developing a health disorder based on the presence of a particular biomarker। जैसे कि HLA-B27 है फॉर ankylosing spondylitis, या HLA-Q is for 24 and 27 are for Crohn's disease या ulcerative colitis। इनमें कैसे है कि ये अगर जीन म्यूटेशन प्रेजेंट है तो we can say that a person is susceptible for getting that particular disease। या जैसे कि ब्रेस्ट कैंसर जो एंटीजन है 1 and 2, it is a biomarker for diagnosing the risk of getting breast cancer। Then there is diagnostic group, second one is the diagnostic group of biomarkers which will help to detect or confirm the presence of a disease or condition of interest। ओके हर एक के हम एग्जाम्पल फिर से देखेंगे, बस पहले हम समझ लेते हैं कि ये क्या बायोमार्कर्स है, इनका क्लासिफिकेशन क्या और इनका काम क्या होता है। नाउ यहाँ पर भी जो भी ये बायोमार्कर्स है दे कैन ओवरलैप, जैसे कि ससेप्टेबिलिटी और रिस्क बायोमार्कर जो है वो कभी कभी इट कैन ऑल्सो एक्ट एज अ प्रोग्नोस्टिक। तो ये कोई हार्ड एंड फास्ट क्लासिफिकेशन नहीं होता है, दिस इज जस्ट फॉर द बेटर अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ द कंसेप्ट and for basically designing the research protocol। Then prognostic biomarkers हम उनको कहते हैं which are capable of identifying the likelihood of a clinical event, disease recurrence or disease progression in patients। Then next is the safety biomarkers which measures the safety or toxicity of a therapeutic regimen और ट्रीटमेंट। तो जब हम कोई भी ड्रग डेवलपमेंट कर रहे हैं या व्हेन द ड्रग इज इन द प्री क्लिनिकल स्टेज, तो उस वक्त ये सारी चीजें देखी जाती है, सेफ्टी बायोमार्कर्स को ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंस दिया जाता है। देन नेक्स्ट इज द प्रेडिक्टिव। नाउ प्रेडिक्टिव इज कि अगर हम कोई मेडिसिन वगैरह दे रहे हैं तो इसका पॉजिटिव आउटकम आएगा या नेगेटिव, ये जिससे हमें एक अंदाजा आ सके, दोस टाइप ऑफ बायोमार्कर्स आर कॉल्ड एज द predictive biomarkers। Monitoring biomarkers are used to assess the status of a disease or medical condition over a period of time। तो बार बार repeatedly they have to be done and which will tell you about the current or recent scenario of the patient's condition। Then the last type is response type of biomarker which is also called as a pharmacodynamic, जो कि एग्जाम बताएगा कि whether the biological response for which a therapeutic regimen या intervention जो भी हमने किया था वो हुआ है या नहीं हुआ है। Now just we will see through the examples of individual। Now the screening biomolecules में अगर हम देखें तो prostate specific antigen आता है which is an for disease which is a screening biomarker for prostate cancer। Then fecal occult blood test can be used as a biomarker for colon cancer। Susceptibility या risk biomarkers का हम देखें तो breast cancer genes जो है 1 and 2 इनमें अगर mutation है तो we can consider that the particular lady is at a higher risk of developing breast cancer। Then if there is a presence of human papilloma virus, it is a predisposition to developing cervical cancer। Then अगर हम diagnostic biomarkers की बात करें तो इसमें example है troponin I या troponin T which is for cardiac ischemia। Then ejection fraction है for congestive cardiac myopathy। Now there are thousands and thousands of biomarkers, पर यहाँ पे मैंने सिर्फ कुछ ही लिए हैं just for getting a brief idea about what biomarkers are and how they are used in clinical practice। Then prognostic में अगर हम देखें तो BRCA 1 and 2 आ गया, तो अगर हम यहाँ पे देखें तो prognostic में भी था, predictive में भी था। तो there are many biomarkers which can fall simultaneously under different 2 or 3 groups at a time। तो सिमिलरली क्रोमोसोम यहाँ पे 17p डिलीशंस है या TP53 म्यूटेशंस है which can predict the death or which can prognose a death of patient with chronic lymphocytic leukemia. देन मॉनिटरिंग में अगर हम देखें तो जैसे मैंने बताया आपको लो डेंसिटी कोलेस्ट्रॉल है फॉर रिस्पॉन्स टू लिपिड लोअरिंग ड्रग्स है. देन द INR, that is the international normalized ratio. It will tell you about the efficacy of an anticoagulant therapy. CA 125 will tell you about the ovarian cancer disease status or burden. HbA1c is commonly used for oral anti-hyperglycemic agents or lifestyle changes. देन अगर हम सेफ्टी में बात करें तो सेफ्टी में वी आर बेसिकली गोइंग टू चेक फॉर द डिफरेंट ऑर्गन्स फंक्शनिंग वेदर दे आर फंक्शनिंग नॉर्मली और नॉट. या वी नो मोस्टली जब हम देखते हैं तो अगर वी आर यूजिंग एनी हेवी मेटल्स इन द पर्सन या इफ यू आर गोइंग टू यूज एनी कीमोथेरेपी देन दिस कीमोथेरेपी कैन ऑल्सो इफेक्ट मेनी ऑर्गन्स. So to check whether the organs are properly functioning or not, these safety biomarkers are used. तो hepatic aminotransferases, that is SGOT, SGPT जो होता है and bilirubin, these are most commonly used to check whether there is hepatotoxicity or not. Then serum creatinine is used for kidney toxicity to see if there is kidney functioning is properly or not. Similarly, potassium is used for examining the diuretics and angiotensin converting, that is ACE inhibitors. Then pharmacodynamic में again INR is used to check the response of warfarin to prevention of thrombosis. Then अगर हम disease wise बात करें तो डायबिटीज मेलिटस में बायोमार्कर टेस्ट जो कॉमनली यूज होते हैं प्रैक्टिस में एंड इवन इन रिसर्च, तो उसमें रैंडम ब्लड शुगर है, फास्टिंग ब्लड शुगर है, HbA1c है, रेटिनल असेसमेंट्स है. देन हाइपरटेंशन में ब्लड प्रेशर है, हार्ट रेट है, प्लाज्मा रेनिन, एंजियोटेंसिन 1 and 2, अल्डोस्टेरॉन, ये सारे आ जाते हैं. देन अस्थमा या COPD में PFT दैट इज पल्मोनरी फंक्शन टेस्ट आ जाता है, ल्यूकोट्रिन से, अल्फा 1 एंटीट्रिप्सिन. Cardiac ischemia we check through CPK-MB or CK-MB and troponin INT. Then cancer markers में PSA for prostate, which we have already seen earlier. Then if we go for organ wise we can consider as कि जैसे हमने liver function में देखा transaminases, bilirubin, alkaline phosphates. For kidney function serum creatinine is used or creatinine clearance is used. मसल के लिए मायोग्लोबिन, फॉर कार्डियक मसल इंजुरी ट्रोपोनिन आयन, फॉर बोन मार्कर्स बोन स्पेसिफिक अल्कलाइन फॉस्फेट्स आर यूज्ड. So these are what we see in clinical practice. And if we go for research, mainly in the drug development, the role of biomarker is for target discovery to search a proper drug. Once a drug has been found, to evaluate the drug activity, then understanding how that drug is going to act in the body, to check for its toxicity and safety in the body. Then for making the internal decision, if there are any subgroups, like if we say there is type 1 diabetes, so in type 1 also we will see if there is presence of any other protein or any other subset in that person population, कि जहाँ पे a particular drug is acting very good in one group and if the same is not acting that very properly in the other group, then why it did not work in the second group. So all these internal decision making में these biomarkers can be used. Then to design clinical studies, it can be also used as diagnostic tools and for better understanding of the disease process. Now, what are the limitations of biomarkers? Now, basically biomarkers, when we see, because of the pharmacogenetic heterogeneity, means different people are going to have their different constitutions. Now this is what even the modern world is now recognizing. And if you see even the theme for this year's thyroid, they have said that precision medicine. Now even the Western counterparts are more focusing on precision medicine. They are considering individual person while giving a treatment rather than a generalized statement or generalized line of treatment, because every person's composition is different, every person's reactions or the mechanisms are different. So how he is going to react to a particular drug or a drug dosage will be varying a lot. and that is the main reason why most of the drugs they fail. Means if they are going for preclinical studies like in vitro studies, they will excel, but when they are administered into patients, when they come for in vivo or when they are used into clinical trials, 9 out of 10 drugs fail, and that is because of this pharmacogenetic heterogeneity. So because of this pharmacogenetic heterogeneity, use of biomarker is having a limited role. Then there are lack of robust biomarkers. Now these biomarkers, they can be expensive for their analysis. All the analysis methods can be expensive, and it can be difficult to store sometimes for maintaining proper temperature, proper conditions, proper setup for storing the tools and the chemicals or required whatever instruments and reagents are required. Then there can be laboratory errors while examining or while conducting a test, performing a test. There can laboratory errors can occur. Then there can be a lack of safety and efficacy of drugs information related to this, and the narrow therapeutic window is also a very big hurdle in the use of biomarkers extensively. And when the inevitable side effects arise, because if you are going to give any drug in the body, it is definitely going to have effects, multiple effects. And even if we are going to check for only one, there can be many effects which is not the part of the study, but they may still arise. And in that cases, failure in early detection is also a very big limitation of a biomarker. So if we see the comparison between biomarkers and clinical endpoints always have more weightage. So to bridge the gap between clinical endpoints and biomarkers, the surrogate endpoints are used most commonly in the clinical trials. Now, what are clinical endpoints means? Clinical endpoints are variables that reflect to how the patient feels, functions, and survives. So basically, it is the subjective feeling. Subjective criteria होते हैं कि patient को कैसे लग रहा है, whether he is feeling good or not. So we won't go into details of that. Surrogate endpoints are nothing but the surrogate markers which we have already seen. So we can just the only thing is that surrogate markers जो है, they should be consistent and accurately predict the clinical outcome. वो भले ही positive हो, or it may be in the form of benefit, or it can be negative in the form of harm, but it should diagnose it properly. So moving on to the next, which is the main. So are there biomarkers in Ayurveda? So the answer to this is yes, there are biomarkers in Ayurveda, and Ayurveda being a holistic science, the approach is very much rational, and it looks into a patient as a whole rather than searching for a single biomolecule. So definitely biomarkers are there in Ayurveda. They have been explained in the form of lakshanas, and objective criterias are mentioned in our granthas, which are scattered. And the best way to identify these are the Upman Praman. In granthas, these biomarkers are explained using the Upman Praman for explanation, and which we have to understand using Pratyaksha and Anumana Praman. The base used for biomarkers in Ayurveda are Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Gandha, Rasa. For example, if we consider the Sparsha, then whenever we are going to do Nadi Pariksha, we are going to check for the Vega. So as it is mentioned that in Jwara, the Nadi will become Vegavana. So Vegvan in Jwara is a type of biomarker, or in Pandu, it will become Vegvan. So these are the biomarkers explained. Or in case of, for example, if we take Mutra, then Mutra can be explained. The best example is Prameha. If we see the criteria for the classification of Prameha, it is the Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, and Gandha of the Mutra. Shabda Pariksha is not mentioned for examination of Mutra in Prameha. But if we see there, then whatever the explanation is done, or whatever the classification of Prameha is done, it is based on the Sparsha also. So whether the Mutra is Ushna, or whether it is Shita, or whether it is Snigdha. So these are all the biomarkers mentioned in Ayurveda. Or in case of Rakta Pitta, then if it is Vataj, then it is mentioned as Tanu. or ruksha, or in kafach raktapitta, it has been explained that the rakta will be pichila. So these are the biomarkers in form of sparsha. In roop, now roop biomarkers are the extensively and the most commonly used biomarker for all the diseases, whatever the lakshanas are told in the form of similes. For example, in pit or haridra varna mutra, or pit or haridra varna nakha, the color of the netra, pita varna, shweta varna of eyes, these are all can be considered as biomarkers. Then in the best example here we can give is that of kamala. In kamala, it has been told that in specifically the shakhashrit kamala, the stool will be tilapishtanibam or shwetavarchah. So that is an criteria, or that is a biomarker for shakhashrit kamala. Then similarly in Vataj Ashmari, it has been given a simile of Kadamba Pushpa. So this is also an example of Rupa biomarker. Then coming to Shabda, in our Charaka and Indriya Sthan explains Varna and Swara Indriya Adhyaya. So in that, whatever the changes are there in Swara, that can be considered as biomarker, Shabda biomarkers. Or whenever, if we consider the auscultation, in example Udara, in Vataj Udara, it has been told as Ahata Admata Druti Vat Shabdah. So that is also then, if it is Jalodhar, then it will be a Shabda. So these are the biomarkers in form of Shabda. Then in form of Gandha, we can see various examples like Visra Gandha or Puti Gandha or Puya Gandha of Rakta, or in case of Vranas, whatever the secretions are coming, different Gandhas have been explained. Or Madhusama Mutra, Madhugandhi Mutra in Madhumeha. These are all the examples of Gandha biomarkers. In a rasa, we use Anuman Praman. For example, in Rakta Pitta, it has been told that you have to mix that Rakta with rice and feed it to the animals. So basically for rasa examination, we are going to use animals. So if crow or dog eat that blood mixed rice, then it is considered as Shuddha. And if they don't eat, then it is considered to be vitiated. So that is a type of rasa. Or it has been explained in Prameha that a person in basically in the Purvarup, that a person who is going to develop Prameha, Pipilika and Makshika Sarpan will be more on such persons. So these are all the examples of biomarkers in Ayurveda. All we need is a different perspective and a vision we need to develop to see this. Then in Ayurveda, these biomarkers are used for diagnosing different stages of disease, to prognose a disease, then to select a treatment modality, to assess the treatment efficacy, assess the adverse drug reaction, toxicity, especially when we are going to use the drugs like Dhatura or Kupilu in medicines or in preparation. So whenever we are going to use Rasya Aushadhis, like having Parada, Gandhaka, if they are in Ashuddha form, they can cause toxicity, or Naga, Vanga, lead toxicity they can cause. So in those cases, we need to have a open eye. Then the scope of biomarkers in Ayurveda should be expanded to discovering and correlation of appropriate biomarkers to various lakshanas and arishtas mentioned in our Samhita. So this has a very huge scope for the further study. So now coming to the conclusion, I think understanding the relationship between the measurable biological processes and clinical outcomes is vital, is very important. Because as we have limited information about the types of processes involved in normal physiology of a biological process or pathophysiology of a disease, that makes constant re-evaluation of biomarkers as surrogate endpoints essential. So if we are going to use any of the biomarker as surrogate endpoint, it should be continuously and repeatedly examined for its consistency with the actual person's condition. Then use of biomarkers in clinical practice and research studies should always have clinical outcomes as ultimate measures, at least for the retrospective analysis of biomarker correlation success, जहां पे हम एक before we declare that this particular molecule is a biomarker for a particular condition, उसका बहुत ज्यादा स्क्रूटिनी होनी चाहिए, बहुत ज्यादा it has to go through a rigorous protocol so as to be used as or substantiated as a biomarker. And always the clinical outcomes have to be given more important so as to maximize benefits to patients and reduce harm. And use of clinical findings as biomarkers and or laboratory and imaging biomarkers should be made judiciously for person or patient's benefit. In conditions where asymptomatic phases are there, like in the initial stages of cancer, where the symptoms are not easily diagnosable, in those conditions we can give more importance to biomarkers. But in conditions where a particular analyte, like अगर सोडियम थोड़ा बहुत है, पोटेशियम है, ऐसे जो है इनका use should always be used judiciously, taking into consideration the patient's actual condition, what signs and symptoms he is having. They should be given more preference. What patient is feeling or how well he is feeling should be given more important. So ये हर एक physician का काम है या role है to make the decision which and what factor should be given more importance. So thank you for listening patiently, and this is all I have to say today. Over to you, sir. Hello.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
I have seen a lot of people, stalwarts actually, not people, academicians like Dailekar sir, Amit sir, Darshana madam, Amit Nam Balliwar. Lot of teachers are joined in this lecture. I request anyone who wants to input in this topic, especially Amit Shirke sir. He is practicing laboratory. Dr. Amit,
Yes, sir.
are you listening?
Yes,
Please
sir.
give your
I'm-
input.
No, it was a very good lecture. Primary, all the things are covered, very well covered. The thing is that we should reach maximum papers which we are undergoing new studies like PG students. I have put that message also in the group that more students should join because those who are trying to practice laboratory, they should know all these things, which has been covered very well by ma'am. So overall, nice lecture, informative one. And if anything extra you need, you can ask.
Yeah. But we have to do some work regarding the madam told that Ayurveda has a biomarker. What type of biomarkers in Ayurveda she described very well. But I think more study and more concluding data should be there for establishing Ayurvedic biomarker.
Yes, that's the thing. But Ayurveda has mostly different all clinical symptoms, clinical findings, and some in the presence of signs of symptoms that are all subjective. If you need to go in objective, then we have to be a research-based institute. For that, it will take some time, as you all know that Ayurvedic people are very much lacking in this field. They are not interested.
Pallavi madam, go in
Yes,
chat
sir.
box and observe all the questions regarding that and answer it.
Yeah, yes, sir. Definitely, sir.
Before answering, ma'am, I want to have a talk of Sandeep Dailekar. Lot of questions he has written here. Dr. Sandeep Dailekar, sir, please.
Yes, sir. I am listening.
Yeah. Please give your input.
So, madam, you explain many more biomarkers, and biomarkers are
Yes,
those
sir.
proteins which produces regarding the diseases. But my question is that
Yes, sir.
what is the importance of biomarkers other than the routine and specific disease diagnostic purpose?
Sir, as I have already told that biomarkers are not just the biomolecules. It includes clinical signs. It includes the biopsies, what we see under the microscope. So as I have told that in clinical practice also, whatever signs or maneuvers, all the types of signs, whichever you get, I have even explained that on auscultation, whatever sounds you hear, they are also type of biomarkers.
Okay,
So
madam.
it is
We are
going to
from,
have,
yes, madam. Sorry to interrupt you.
yes,
We are
sir.
from Ayurved faculty, as you know,
Yes,
and
yes,
we are more and more modernized, and that's why we know all these advanced modern technology. Most of us,
yes, sir.
they are
Yes.
practicing regarding lab practicing. They are practicing regarding many thesis work. They are making the paper and article, and so many things they know.
Yes,
But
sir.
as a biomarker regarding all these, what is your
Hmm.
input and incorporation regarding the Ayurveda?
Sir, I have already explained the examples. I have given those examples.
So
And
can you
I have even
explain?
explained,
Yes, your examples are regarding the clinical pictures, but I want to know
okay.
which Vyadhi Ghatak can be diagnosed under the biomarkers as
So
laboratory invest.
which biomarker, which can you please explain me the Vyadhi Ghatak which you want to examine under the
There
biomarker?
are 5 Vyadhi Ghatak: Am, Agni,
Okay,
Kled,
okay. So
दोष
which you want to,
दोष
which,
विशिष्ट अवस्था सामावस्था निरामावस्था and many
so
more
sir,
things are there. So
exactly, sir.
how do you give that biomarker specific to this is the arm, this is the clay, or this is the
So that
samavastha,
is the topic of research.
kamadosh.
That is the topic of research. That's what I have told
We
you.
gathered
Go
here for
further.
this kind of knowledge
So
because
sir,
this routine investigation we know it very well.
exactly. So that is what the topic is. That is to understand the role.
तो
Okay.
इसीलिए मैंने
क्योंकि
लिखा था
धातु,
मैडम कि इसीलिए लिखा था मैंने
हाँ वही सर, मैं अभी पढ़ रही हूँ, वही आपके क्वेश्चंस पढ़
कि
रही हूँ कि
नया
आम
है
के
वो
लिए।
इट इज जस्ट अ गुड काइंड ऑफ रैपर ऑन द ओल्ड थिंग्स.
सर आपने शायद मेरा स्टार्टिंग से नहीं सुना है, क्योंकि मैंने फर्स्ट सेंटेंस से यूज किया था कि ये जो भी क्लिनिकल साइंस वगैरह है, इट इज एज ओल्ड एज क्लिनिकल प्रैक्टिस. सिर्फ जो टर्म है बायोमार्कर, ये नया आया है. एंड दैट my intention to take this topic was to make everyone familiar with the global biomedical language. क्योंकि बायोमार्कर मतलब हमारे बच्चे डर जाते, दे कंसिडर इट कि ये कुछ बहुत बड़ा नया है एंड वी डोंट नो इट. सो बायोमार्कर इज नथिंग वेरी न्यू कंसेप्ट और एनीथिंग. जो हम रूटीनली करते हैं वही है ये सब. इट इज जस्ट योर पर्सपेक्टिव. फॉर दैट आई हैव क्लियरली एक्सप्लेन्ड इन द इनिशियल time
So
only.
that is my question, madam. Ki we know all this modern investigation.
Okay.
And how do we implant it in Ayurveda and its phases?
I think sir you are more senior to me. You will be able to answer
अरे
this
नहीं
more
मैडम, यही तो
better.
सुनने
तो
के लिए
मैं
आपको
आपको
ज्वाइन किया.
पास नहीं सर ये तो टॉपिक है नहीं ना सर. My topic is role of biomarkers in clinical practice and research. And ARM, if you say sir, ARM is not a very limited, because ARM is also a very big concept.
That's
Every dhatu is going to have a different arm. तो उसके जो पैरामीटर्स होंगे वो भी हर एक के
that's
अलग
why
होंगे.
we want to something a new knowledge disease wise, phase wise, amavastha wise.
Definitely sir,
And
but that
it's
would be next either sir I would take next another webinar for
okay,
this,
okay.
or
We
I
will
would,
like to hear you
or
very much.
sir, or will sir better I will request you to take this topic, because your experience
No,
and
thank you,
knowledge will
it's
be
okay. Thank you. I'm already too much busy. थैंक यू मैडम. फिर भी जो भी आपने टच किया है, प्रोबेबली आपने तरह तरह के कैंसर बताया, ऑटोइम्यून डिसीज बताया, एंकिलोस्पॉन्डिलोसिस बताया, ब्रेस्ट कैंसर बताया, यूटेरस कैंसर, B27, क्रॉन्स डिसीज एंड मेनी मोर, इंटरस्टिशियल लंग डिसीज, प्रोस्टेट स्पेसिफिक एंटीजन, ये सब समझ रहे हैं हम. इट इज गुड.
Okay.
दीज आर सम ऑटोइम्यून एंड
सर सिंपल अभी हम देखते हैं पांडु के लिए HB किया जाता है. बट व्हाट वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड इज सर, एक ही सेंटेंस में आपको मैं आंसर दे देती हूँ. मॉडर्न साइंस जो भी है, इट इज बेसिकली बेस्ड ऑन ऑल बायोकेमिस्ट्री.
ओके.
एंड आयुर्वेद जो है, इट इज बेस्ड ऑन बायोफिजिक्स. And so the research protocols are totally different. It should be designed differently. You cannot limit it. Biomarkers is a very short concept if you consider, if you want to understand Ayurveda.
That is the point. अभी आप एकदम सही मुद्दे पे बात कर रहे हैं और यही सुनना था हमें कि किसी का 10 ग्राम HB% अगर होगा और वो पैलर दिख रहा है तो आयुर्वेद उसे पांडु ही कहेगा. बाय मॉडर्न मींस ही इज फिट फॉर सर्जरी. तो हमें क्लिनिकल फीचर्स ऑफ आयुर्वेद के हिसाब में ही आगे बढ़ना पड़ेगा.
तो सर मेरा आपने लिखा नहीं तो इसलिए तो मैंने कहा ना, एंड पॉइंट वर्सेस क्लिनिकल आउटकम में ऑलवेज क्लिनिकल आउटकम को ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंस होता है. दैट्स व्हाट आई टोल्ड इन माय पीपीटी. दैट्स व्हाट आई टोल्ड इन माय presentation. I think you missed that slide maybe. That more important
okay,
because
madam.
I have seen a patient.
It's okay, but आयुर्वेद टच और भी ज्यादा चाहिए था आपकी तरफ से. ठीक है, नेक्स्ट टाइम सुनेंगे हम आपको.
Definitely sir.
Okay, most welcome and nice.
Thank you, Sandeep.
Any other questions?
Questions or any inputs if you want to give, please unmute yourself. Amit Nampalliwar sir. Dr. Amit Nampalliwar. Amit sir.
Hello, sir. I got answer by Dr. Sirke, sir. Because madam that is presenting regarding modern, but not most regarding to Ayurveda. That is, if biomarkers is that is a arm, what in arm condition, how you can find is there is a AMA in not arm condition in the stomach. So is there any biomarker for AMA? Can we analyze the gastric juice and can we say that there is a AMA condition or not?
So for this, we actually need to understand the concept of AMA. Because if we see Charak Sutrasthan 28 अध्याय, आम के बाद उन्होंने साम बताया कि आम प्रदोषज व्याधि, if we see for every धातु they have given a different list. So these biomarkers will be specific for a condition. You cannot generalize कि हाँ ये मतलब आम है. If you are going to see for Pandu, the biomarkers of Pandu will be different. जैसे कि अगर हम उसका अंश कल्पना देखते हैं तो पांडु में पित्त है, लेकिन कौन सा पित्त है? तो रंजक पित्त है, भ्राजक पित्त है. तो उसके लिए हर एक के बायोमार्कर डिपेंडिंग ऑन द डिजीज डिफरेंट होंगे. और बायोमार्कर मतलब
जैसे साम पित्त, अगर आपको साम पित्त आपको डायग्नोज करना है तो साम पित्त का बायोमार्कर अपन कुछ
सर
निकाल सकते हैं क्या? आई एम आस्किंग अबाउट व्हाट विल बी द बायोमार्कर साम पित्त.
यस सर, इन टर्म्स ऑफ आयुर्वेदा जो हमारे लक्षण दिए हैं कि वो हरित वर्ण का होगा. ओके, तो आताम्रपित्तम जो दिया है श्लोक, उसकी लक्षण हम दे सकते हैं. और अगर हमें देखना है इन टर्म्स ऑफ बायोकेमिस्ट्री तो जो बिलीवर्डिन कंटेंट है दैट विल बी मोर इन साम पित्त.
Sir, I think Gulmal sir.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Amit sir.
Thank you, madam. Okay.
Anyone want to ask questions?
I think there is no any questions sir in chat box.
Conclude this lecture. Thank you
Sir.
very much. Hello.
Hello?
Yes sir. You continue sir. Continue.
We will conclude this lecture. Today's lecture on role of biomarkers in clinical practice and research, which was well elaborated and delivered by and well presented by Dr. Pallavi Chowgule ma'am. Actually, he described lot of things which we all know but not know. That is, all terms are now we well familiar with all terms, but this she explained that this biomarker term is a medical term. एक्चुअली अगर पेशेंट को हम कुछ कहेंगे कि तुम्हारा टेस्ट कुछ करना है, लेकिन उसे कहेंगे कि कुछ बायोमार्कर्स आपके टेस्ट करने हैं, तो वो थोड़ा घबरा जाएगा. तो इस तरह की स्थिति आयुर्वेद के टीचर्स और आयुर्वेद के रिसर्चर की भी हो सकती है कि बायोमार्कर वर्ड सुनने के बाद वो थोड़ा घबरा जाए.
Yes sir. Listen. Many my students ask sir, is this lecture related with cancer? I said no.
Sir,
No,
one more thing.
Biomarkers are routine investigations along with some.
Sir, one more thing I would like to add in here. The another, if I can add in here, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
So the another reason is that whenever we consider biomarker, the first picture we get is about some lab investigation. We do not give importance to clinical examination because the change in the movement or the angle of a joint is also in biomarker. So specifically, I have told that swan neck deformity can be considered. So more importance is nowadays being given to just lab investigations rather than clinical examinations. So this is the one more point I want to highlight here, that any changes physically in the person also can be considered as biomarker. Like
Yes, ma'am.
kyphosis in scoliosis, the deviation in the curvature of spine, it is also a biomarker.
Yes, ma'am. Right to say.
नहीं, वही तो मैं बता रहा था कि एक्चुअली this word is primarily we know that the biomarkers are cancer and regarding some diseases having specific biomarkers. All we know that, but nowadays biomarkers actually जब से भी मैं इसके रिगार्डिंग देखा तो जब से भी ये बायोमार्कर्स का जो इम्पोर्टेंस है तो उसमें फिजियोलॉजिकल बायोमार्कर्स या पैथोफिजियोलॉजिकल बायोमार्कर्स, क्लिनिकल फाइंडिंग्स जो ये है इन पॉइंट क्लिनिकल सिम्टम्स, उन सभी का वहाँ पे उल्लेख है, ऐसा कुछ नहीं. लेकिन we know that we only know that biomarkers regarding the cancer and some diseases. Therefore, on all investigations, we know that pathological investigation, but we don't told that biomarkers. They are all terms, all pathophysiological and physiological concepts are termed in one umbrella word, that is the biomarker. Thank you very much, ma'am. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Shall we conclude, sir?
Yes. Thank you very much. I also thanks to our Academia Prognidan, all teachers who joined this lecture series, and also thanks to our respected President Pawan Kumar Godotwar sir, our respected Secretary Dr. Atul Varshne, and all the executive members of the Academia of Rognidan, and all the members of Academia of Rognidan, and all participants in this lecture series. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Over to Ganesh.
Yes, sir. Conclude. Yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.